So in our yesterday session, it's an introduction for firewall. So in that session, we were discussed what is firewall, what are the type of firewall we have, and what is traditional firewall, what is next generation firewall, in what is stateful and stateless firewall, and next generation traditional and next generation firewall, right? What are all the functions they can able to do it in a traditional firewall? What are the features they will support? And what are the features next generation firewall will support, right? So that we were discussed. So it's this session, it's a short session and it's going to be a continuation of that session only. So now we are going to compare traditional firewall and next generation firewall. Yesterday we saw what is traditional firewall and what is next generation firewall, what is the drawback we have in a traditional firewall, and how the next generation firewalls are fixing that drawbacks, what by supporting new features, so which is implemented in a next generation firewalls, whatever the features are implemented in a next generation firewalls, right? So along with that, some of the additional information you are going to get now in this session. Okay, so that you can say it's a traditional firewall, difference between the traditional firewall and next generation firewall. Okay, or we are going to we comparatively we see the performance or performance wise or support the feature support wise between the next generation firewall and traditional firewall, guys. Okay, first we'll come one by one. The packet filtering, just a minute. Packet filtering means it's a firewalling. What is firewall, guys? If it is a firewall, what are the features it must support, or what action it has to take? Guys, if it is a firewall, right, what action it has to take it, guys? What firewall will do? What is mean by firewalling? What it actually it will do? It will control the traffic, or you can say firewall will help us to avoid avoid the unnecessary access gaining from inside network to outside network, or outside network, I mean from outside network to inside network in your organization infrastructure, right? So it's going to control the traffic, what kind of application, what kind of service, what kind of um, source and destination I want to allow to communicate between the particular source and destination. I want to allow this communication for so and so services or application, right? So that has been decided by your firewall, and that is going to control the traffic flow. Control, simply I'm going to say that I can control the traffic on my production network or an internal network traffic. Control the traffic. If it is a good firewall, first, what is firewalling? Firewall is going to control the traffic from to avoid the unauthorized access gaining. So we cannot simply allow all the traffic, right? So we need to control the traffic. And additionally, if it in modern world, even though you are controlling the traffic by using some of the I mean ACLs or rules, by creating us by security rules, we are going to allow some traffic and we are going to deny some traffic. And so allowing and denying some traffic, it's not going to provide end-to-end security in your production network, right? It's not going to provide full security on your infrastructure. So what it has to do in modern world, in modern threats, so we need to secure your network by monitoring, or you can simply it's saying that instead of monitoring, deep inspection. If it is a firewall, it has to filter the traffic, I mean, control the traffic, and it has to inspect that, deeply inspect the allowed traffic. So whatever the traffic you are trusting, that trusted traffic must, even though it's a trusted source and trusted destination, it must be inspected. That source and destination might be trusted persons. Okay, let's say this is a source, and over the internet, and this is the destination. So you know what this is your internal network. I'm placing a Paloalto firewall here, and this is some destination source. And so you know what is source and destination. And let's say 10.10, and this is a 20.10. and you might know the source and destination. So the source might be your branch one device. Inside in a branch one, the source is there, and branch two you may have your another branch. So branch two, this devices have. So these two source and destinations are your branches, your so you may have another firewall here as well. So you in your branch head office, let's say this is a head office and this is a branch office. So you are going to communicate from head office to branch office and branch office to head office. So these two branches are managed by your internal administrators, and you do have a firewalls, and it's managed all that networks and everything is managed by you guys. So you might trust that, you may trust source and destination, right? But when you are trying to communicate these source and destination, they are going to try to communicate over the internet. So the traffic might be trusted traffic, the source and destination might be trusted traffic, but when they are trying to communicate over the internet is a open source, so everyone can be use the internet. So in between that communication, so some of the attacker, he can sneak the data, or he can modify the data whatever you are communicating, right? So he can inject some inside that modified data, he can inject some virus, malware, spyware, right? So infected, it might be infected by attacker, might be snipe your data or inject some malicious in your data, in your existing communication data, right? So even though the data source and destination are trusted, we need to inspect the allowed traffic, because it might be chances, it might have a chance to infected by the virus or malware, or it is s- modified by the hackers, right? So we need to do deep inspection to avoid the to provide a better security in modern world, in modern threat, guys. Okay, to secure your production network from the modern threat, so that has to do by this firewall. It's good firewall need to do deep inspection as well. So now traditional firewall, and we are comparing the traditional firewall and next generation firewalls, right? So traditional firewalls are not capable to do deep inspection. So here that above, right? So whenever I'm clicking this each subtopics, right? So the you can see two partitions. So the above partition, it's for traditional firewalls, whatever the information I have mentioned. So the above of your about informations or traditional about traditional firewalls, the below informations are next generation firewall, about the next generation firewalls, guys. Okay, so in traditional firewall, when it comes to the firewalling, filtering the packet, okay, just forget about the inspection. So when you're trying to filter the traffic, when you're trying to filter the traffic, right? So in that case, traditional firewall will do filter the packet based on the source IP. It will check the header of the packet. It will not check the content. It will not check the content. It will not check the data. It will check the check the header of the IP packet. So in that IP packet, it can able to come to know that source IP address or source network and destination IP address and destination network, and along with that, it's when it comes to the L3 filter. Okay, because they will support only layer 3 filter and layer 4 filters, traditional firewalls. And so additionally, you can use ports and protocols, port numbers. Okay, ports and protocol, TCP protocol or UDP protocols. You can filter based on the protocol and ports when it comes to the layer 4 filter, transport layer filters. When it comes to the network layer, they can use source IP as a filter and destination IP as a filter, or source network as a filter, or destination network as a filter. When it comes to the layer 4 transport layer, they can use it protocol as a filter. Either you can allow or deny the TCP protocol or UDP protocol, or inside the TCP protocol, you can allow some services. So you can use port numbers, HTTP web services, HTTP and HTTPS. So port number 480 and 443, like that mail service, like that n number of services we have, right? So all based on the TCP allowed port numbers, I mean the port numbers, you can filter the services, right? So whatever the service you want to allow, web service, mail service, storage service, right? So file transfer, right? So whatever it is, DNS services if you want to allow, right? So whatever the services, POP3, my map, when it comes to the mail, POP3, IMAP, right? So like that, the services you can allow or deny by using port numbers. But when traditional firewalls, they are not supporting the layer 7 filters. Only it is supported by the next generation firewall. So layer 7, what is the layer 7? It's an application layer. So application visibility is not available in a traditional firewall. It's not supported by your traditional firewall. So when comes to the next generation firewall, along with layer 3 filter and layer 4 filters, and you can also use layer 7 filters, so which means I want to block or allow some traffic based on the application wise, so I can use it, application as a filter. So applications as a filter I can use it, and then additionally I can use it user id, user identity. Okay, so those who are using it, right? So in my production network, let's say I have a two team, sales team and support and technical team. Okay, so I want to allow Facebook, let's say this is a Facebook. Okay, and this LAN segment, and I have another VLAN, this is a technical team, or you can say it's a sales team. Okay, so I want to allow Facebook only for the sales team people, sales team users, or sales team employees, sales employees. So in that case, I can achieve this. Let's say this is sales. When comes to the Facebook, they are going to access, sales team will be allowed to access Facebook. Yes, it's possible by using application layer filters. Okay, so which means user awareness, user identity. Okay, so I can examine the application of the data, what the user is trying to communicate, and I can also examine it, who is trying to access the data, that Facebook, from my inside the user who initiated the request to access that particular application. So who he is belongs to which team, sales team or technical team, whatever, in your production network, whatever the employment team you have. So you can just create a group, and that particular group only you can allow, or particular user only you can allow, right? So that user awareness or user identity I can able to achieve when I have a next generation firewall. It's not possible on traditional firewall ways. Okay, when I have a next generation firewall, so that time I can use user identity or user awareness, and also application awareness. So Facebook, I want to allow Facebook only. I want to deny other social networking applications for the sales team or technical team. I want to deny entire social networking applications. So these kind of set of application or particular application inside the application, some micro in Facebook. I don't want to, in sales team itself, I want to allow Facebook, but I don't want to allow inside the Facebook. We have some micro applications like Facebook chat, Facebook voice messenger, right? So messenger, inside the messenger, voice call, video call, right? So these these micro application, let's say sharing some document, I mean file sharing, right? And then game inside the Facebook, some games are there, game applications are there. So that specific game application I want to deny, I don't want to allow in Facebook. I want to allow Facebook for the sales team, but when they try to play games in a Facebook, so I that time I want to deny that access. When they try to do video call with the clients or someone else, right? So that time I want to deny that. So micro application control also possible when you have a next generation firewall. So but when you have a traditional firewall, they can work only on layer 3 and layer 4. They will not capable to work on layer 7 application layer. So they don't have application visibility, and since it doesn't have application visibility, the user awareness also will not be supported. Okay guys. So when comes to the filtering only, when comes to the firewalling, packet filtering, just control the traffic. These are all the options or filters I can use it to control the traffic. I'm not discuss about the inspection, right? I'm just discuss about the filtering the packets or filtering the traffic. Okay, so when the difference between the next traditional firewall and next generation firewall, they next generation firewall, they can filter the packets or filter the traffic based on layer 3 and layer 4 filters, which is IP and then port numbers, protocols, right? IP and when it comes to the layer 7 next generation firewall, along with the traditional firewall filter options, L3 and L4 filters, additionally they have a feature, they can additional filters, they can have layer 7, so application visibility they have, so application wise they can filter the traffic, and along with user identity, user based filters, we can achieve it, guys. So when it comes to the filtering, okay, so second option, so inspection, so which means monitor deep inspection, right? So inspect the data visibility. So let me show you. Okay, so when the second point, inspection capabilities. So your traditional firewall, as I mentioned, it will not inspect the packet. It will inspect the IP header to verify what is the source IP and what is the destination IP, what is the protocol port number, to identify these only. Okay, inside the IP header, it will not open the data packet and it will not have privilege to inspect the data. What kind of data is this? What kind of application is this? So since it doesn't support the L7 fil filtering features, okay, so it will not able to inspect the original what is the data, and the data is secure data or not, what is the application, that application is allowed or not, that inspection it's not possible by the traditional firewall. But when it comes to the next generation firewall, Cisco ASA comes under traditional firewall. Yes, Azad. So yesterday we had this session. So introduction to the firewall. So that time we had, I given an example. What is the example for traditional firewall? What is the example for next generation firewall and all? Okay. So yeah, fine. So now when it comes to the next generation firewall inspection capability, they already have a application level visibility. So L3 filters, L4 filters, L7 filters they have, and along with that they can able to do deep inspection. So deep inspection means it can identify, it can do application awareness it has. So what is it, it can able to identify what is the source and what is the destination, source, destination, and what is the protocol and port number it has, and what is the application as well, application visibility it has. So what kind of application user try to use it, that communication is using what kind of application, so that visibility is there. Along with that, who is using that application, who is try to use that application, right? So the user, so simply I said who. Okay, and along with that, it can able to do deep inspection, what kind of data they are trying to communicate. So in Facebook, that particular user try to download or upload some video. Again, so simple topology, let me draw here. Okay, and Facebook, let's assume this is Facebook, and 20.10, 10.10. Okay, so they are trying to communicate now. So now this user try to upload some video which is having 150 MB. Yesterday I given this example only, right? So by using this example, we'll okay. So now this 150 MB data, it will be converted as a 100 IP packet. So each IP packet will pass your firewall. And say when you have a next generation firewall, so the Paloalto is one of the next example for next generation firewall. So now what it will do? It will maintain the connection table. So only once the security rule will be executed, and now the whatever data the data is going on, right? So the data application visibility it has. So now the system A, what kind of application they are using? So that is Facebook. And who is inside that application system A? So 10.10, the IP is 10.10, and user ID. If you have a AD environment, or if you have a local user database, so that will also fetch who is that I username. So he is a sales team, sales one employee, sales one employee name is sales one. So like that, or so and so, whatever the name. that employee ID, user ID, right? So that can be fetched. So along with that, so what kind of data he's try to upload some video, so it will try to open the data packet, and then what kind of video inside the video, whether that video data is infected any malware, virus, spyware, anything else, or any type of attack is injected in this each in this data, right? So everything it can be inspected. Okay, so additional inspection along with the data layer 7 visibility, it can analysis about the data, whether the data is secure or not, it is infected by the virus or malware, right? So along with that, the data might be allowed, so that data might have some the file, the video, it's a video file. So if that video if you're protecting the data security, right? So video file, I don't want to allow users to download or upload. In that case, so that file blocking option will be work while doing a deep inspection. So if the data is contain vulnerability, spyware or malware, or did you're try to steal some personal some sensitive information from your organization, so that information it contains inside the file, so that data leakage protection also will work, guys. File blocking and data leakage protection, and also IPS, so intrusion prevention, like virus, malware, spyware, any type of intrusions, right? So any type of network based attacks, right? So anything it can be inspected, guys. When which device can be have a capabilities, that is only next generation firewall. When it comes to the inspection capability, it's more, it can be inspect more efficiently and with multiple aspects. But when it comes to the traditional firewall, it doesn't have that option. Simply it will not inspect the data inspection is not possible. So no IP inbuilt IPS. Clear, guys? So the third different security policy, you can implement different kind of security policy and in a next generation firewalls, let me. But when it comes to the traditional firewalls, so they can use a access control policy, and they can, as I mentioned the previous inspection, so you can apply L3 and L4 filters in your security policy, but you can have only ACLs. And but when it comes to the next generation firewalls, along with the security policy, you can say it's a ACL itself or security policy. Okay, and you can also create a data inspection policy, so that is called IPS policies, or content filtering policy, content awareness policy, or you can say. So when the ACLs will, it will talk about the, I mean, it's support only the filtering based on the layer 3 and layer 4 and layer 7 filters. But deep inspection we can do, create the security policy for the deep inspection, content aware. So when you do deep inspection, that time only you can able to aware about the data, what kind of data is this, either this data is a secure data, any vulnerability, spyware, virus, or whatever it is, any intrusion is in in this data we have, or it is modified data, right? So that can be when you have a content awareness, when you have a when you have a capability to examine your entire data, that time only you can aware about the content, whether it's a secure data or it's modified data, it's a vulnerable data, right? So these information you can able to see. So for that we have a we have to so by default content awareness will not be applicable, only access control policy only work. Okay, so we need to attach that content awareness policies, such as antivirus policy. Okay, let me give in a short name. AV policies, and then web. If you want to filter the application, so I mean, like URL filter policy, you need to attach in your basic security rule. So you have to separately create a URL website blocking policy, web blocking. Okay, and then you have to create intrusion prevention, so like malware protection, anti-malware policy you have to create in a Paloalto firewall, and some of the firewall they said as a IPS policy itself. Okay, intrusion policy. Okay, and then you need to create content filtering policy. So this is also called as data leakage protection. Sorry, data leakage protection is a different thing. Content filtering is a different thing. Data leakage is different thing. Okay, so data leakage protection policy you need to separately create, right? And so antivirus profile, anti-malware profile, URL profile, content filtering profile, and data leakage protection profile. And you can also create an application filter profile in your content awareness itself, or you can directly create application control in your access list in, I mean basic security basic security policy itself. Okay, so I'm just adding application filter since we can able to attach in your content awareness policy itself. Okay, so these policies you need to separately create, and then you need to attach that policy on your basic security rules, guys. Okay, so that is possible when you have a, you can choose whatever the inspection you are going to do. Only virus based for virus, I need to inspect, I want to inspect, or I want to inspect the URL, what kind of URL the user is trying to access. So if it is vulnerable URL, I just want to deny, or it is a unauthorized URL, I just want to deny. Likewise, the content, specific content filtering only I just want. All are optional. If you want, you can use it. If you don't want, you can just use a basic security rule, which can be applied only source IP and destination IP. So port number and protocol number, and then application and user as a filters. Okay. But when you're creating when basic security rule, you must have a L3 and L4 filters. Layer 7 filter is optional. If you want, you can utilize it. Okay, so even it's a next generation firewall, layer 7 filter is optional. But when you are creating a security rule, layer 3 filter and layer 4 filters are must having filters. Okay, so these content awareness filtering policies we don't have in a traditional firewalls, guys. Clear? Okay, so these up to this, right? So user awareness, what is user awareness, what is application awareness, right? So up to this we know, yesterday itself we almost discussed the between the, I mean, types of firewall when we are doing an introduction to the firewall. That time itself I explained, right? So now application awareness, so that is nothing much. So you can, as I mentioned, so your traditional firewall doesn't have application awareness. It is it because it will not work on based on the layer 7. It will work only based on layer 3 and layer 4. So it doesn't have application awareness. But next generation firewall, it also working under the layer 7 as well. So it has application awareness. So you can, if when you want to allow or deny some specific application, or inside the application, some of the micro application features I want to deny, I want, right? So that case it is possible when you're using next generation firewall, guys. Okay, so identity awareness, so already I explained. So user identity, so who is in user identity, it will not supported by the next generation traditional firewalls. In inbuilt, it will not support. You need to use a external or third party applications or services to implement the user identity awareness. Okay, and and then but when you have an next generation firewall, it's an inbuilt feature. You can integrate with a user identity servers, and you can locally you can maintain a user database, and you can implement the user identity, or you can integrate with a third party user management systems like a AD server, LDAP services, TACA services, and you can authenticate that particular users or user groups. That is possible when you have a next generation firewall, but this feature is not possible when you have a traditional firewall, guys. And when it comes to the threat intelligence, So that is advanced malware protection features, like it's a deep inspection IPS activities along with advanced malware protection, which is zero-day threat prevention. Okay, so that is not applicable or that is not possible by inbuilt when you have a traditional firewall, since it doesn't have application visibility. So and it does not have a privilege to do deep inspect the data, so it's not possible to implement within this traditional firewalls. But when you have a next generation firewall, it has application awareness, and it has a application visibility, and it can able to do deep inspection. So we can implement the advanced malware protections by using third party integration, and that particular device itself, it's a license based features. Okay, so you can use it, you can integrate the malware intelligent integrations as, I mean, threat intelligence integration features within each vendors. They have a separate license, that cloud based integration we have, and separate devices we have for the uh, advanced deep inspection for the malwares. Okay, so that integration, it's possible only an next generation firewall by default. Okay, so you can integrate with a third party tool, and inbuild also we have that feature, same feature, to efficiently to do deep inspection against that zero-day threat prevention. So you can do integrate the third party, or you can go with the cloud based subscription, which is each vendor they have that cloud based subscriptions. Each vendor they have a dedicated devices only for the deep inspection. Okay, so that dedicated uh, enhanced IPS device, that is called uh, sandbox devices in FortiGate. Okay, and Palo Alto, we call it as a wildfire. Okay, in Palo Alto, it's a dedicated hardware, and also the same service available as a cloud-based subscription. Okay, so it so that is called wildfire engine in Palo Alto. In FortiGate, sandbox. Okay, guys. In Cisco, advanced malware protection. It's a cloud-based features. Okay, so but next gen, when traditional firewall, that is not possible, since it doesn't have a application visibility, layer 7 visibility it doesn't have. So that, and so most of the scenario more or like similar we already had in a day one session itself. So right, so but above this, these are all the things you are going to additionally going to have some knowledge. Okay, so scalability, traditional firewalls are not scalable to the all the environment. So it is possible to deploy with a small amount of traffic when you're I mean easy network network, or simple network, where you have a simple network. When you have a complex design in your network, or high volume data flow, if you have, in that case, this traditional firewalls are not suitable for the complex networks. Okay, so it's not suitable for the complex network or modern network demands. Okay, modern network means, so where you have a multi, you I mean it's not possible to deploy in a data center, or when you have a next generation firewall, it is capable to work with a high volume data flows. So you can deploy in an sorry, you can deploy in a data center itself, where you have your server segments, right? So there you can deploy it. But when you're deploying your traditional firewalls, you can deploy as a perimeter firewall only, layer 3. I mean, the as a security gateway only you can deploy, and or layer 2 security gateway only you can deploy. But application level, where you have when you have where you have a multiple servers, so that server segment only you want to secure, you can deploy as a next generation firewall. You can deploy as a traditional, perimeter firewall. You can deploy as a layer 2 firewall. You can deploy as a application layer firewall. Okay, only your application layer, not L3 functionality, not L2 functionalities. You can deploy only on layer 7 firewalls. Okay, so that is possible when you're using next generation firewall. But when you're using a traditional firewall, you can deploy in a layer 3 mode or layer 2 mode. Some of the traditional firewalls will not support the layer 2 deployment as well. Okay, so which means you can use network based support only you can able to deploy when you're having a traditional firewalls. But when you're having a next generation firewall, you can deploy it as an application layer device. Okay, so along with the layer 3 or you can also deploy as a perimeter firewall, you can also deploy as a layer 2 deployment, or you can also deploy it in a layer 7 deployment option. Okay, so when you're having a so it will support all the deployment, most of the deployment features. Okay, and along with that, it is scalable with the cloud environment. So the next generation firewalls will most of the scenario will support the cloud inspection, I mean cloud deployment as well. If you have your infrastructure in a cloud and you want to secure that infrastructure, if you have a next generation firewall, it is very much suitable with the cloud integration. But traditional firewalls also you can able to do that cloud integration, but it is limited features. It will not support all the features, and it is not suitable for the high volume network. Okay, so when it comes to the performance, again, it's talk about the so it since it's working as a layer 7 device, layer 7 visibility it has, so it can work performance wise. It can suitable for the complex network, and it can handle more data flow, and it can produce more throughputs than traditional firewalls. The traditional firewalls will produce low throughputs only. Okay, so I mean the amount of data can be inspected or handled is better than, I mean traditional I mean next generation firewall is better than to handle the amount of data to do the deep inspection and filtering. Okay, but traditional firewalls are the performance, when comes to the performance, even though they are not supporting the deep inspection, and they are not capable to do more performance. Okay, and the additional difference, SSL inspection. So when you have a traditional firewall, if your network production network is receiving a encrypted traffic, like let's say it's a VPN traffic, or let's say it's a HTTPS traffic, it's a encrypted traffic, right? Secure traffic. So encrypted traffic, since your next generation firewall doesn't have application awareness, so it is not able to do encrypt, I mean it will not able to do deep inspection for any kind of data. And if it, especially if it is encrypted data, it's not having possibilities. It will not able to decrypt the data, and it not able to do deep inspection. So SSL inspection is not possible on your traditional firewall. But when you have a next generation firewall, so it's have it is working under the application layer as well. So it can able to identify the application. So it has application awareness. So even though the traffic is encrypted traffic, it it will support the SSL decryption. So it can able, if you're enable that the SSL decryption feature in your next generation firewall, so it will do whenever it is receiving a encrypted file, right? It will decrypt that file, and it will look inside the encrypted file. It will decrypt, and it will check the data and what kind of data, whether that is vulnerable or secure. So that will be do deep inspect, and then it will allow the traffic. If everything is okay, then it will allow the traffic. So SSL inspection, it's possible when you have a next generation firewall. SSL is nothing, it's a encrypted file. Okay, so encrypted data can be inspected when you have a next generation firewall, but traditional firewall doesn't have that feature, guys. Okay, clear? So the low store cloud integration, we already discussed about the cloud integration. So traditional firewall, it will not support the cloud. I mean, it might support the cloud integration, but it will not support all your, I mean, advanced features and some of the, since the native environment only it will work. So some of the uh, limited feature only it will work. And but next generation firewall, it is designed to work with the virtual environment as well, so cloud environment as well. So it will support properly the cloud in, they have a dedicated tools for the, I mean, the dedicated devices to deploy dedicated operating system. I mean, all are working as the same operating system only, but that can be deployed in a virtual environment as well. Okay, so that operating system that of that firewalls can be deployed in your virtual environment. You can separately purchase for dedicated cloud environment. Okay, so in a cloud platform itself, you can able to see that devices and you can deploy it. Okay, so but traditional firewall doesn't have that features proper, and it will not support all the features. Okay, and when comes to the management access, traditional firewall, most of the scenario they will not support, they will use only CLI mode. Most of the traditional firewall will support efficiently with the CLI. Even if it is ASA will support the GUI. Even if they are supporting the GUI, limited features only you can able to access. And it is not comparatively the next generation firewall and traditional firewall. Traditional firewall GUI will not that much easier, and it will not support all the features. Okay, but when you have a next generation firewall, they are giving a I mean, they're supporting both the CLI and GUI consoles, and very impressive GUI consoles they have, and it is easy to understand, and it will support all the features, most of the features which is supported in CLI, and all the features you can use it in a GUI as well. So you can see the report, you can generate the uh, you can analyze the traffic, and you can generate the reports. Monitoring it's possible in a GUI itself when you have a next generation firewall. But traditional firewall, the monitoring features, you should use the third party integration tools to monitor the traffic. Okay, so in better visualization you can able to do it. You can generate the better report in the while monitor the traffic. So when you have a next generation firewalls, guys, clear? Okay, so these are all the features I mean, difference between the next generation firewall and traditional firewalls, guys. Okay, clear? So so when you're using a traditional firewall, you cannot able to filter the traffic efficiently and application layer wise, and as well as you cannot do deep inspect. So to compete with the modern world, modern threats, so deep inspection is must nowadays. So that's the reason all the vendors, all the organization, they are deploying more than one or two firewalls in their productions. Okay, more than two firewalls minimum, they're having a two different kind of firewalls, next generation firewalls. The combination of the vendor, they will use it. Okay, most of the scenario. So not only they are using a specific, most of the scenario, 80% of the organization, they will not use only one vendor product when it comes to the firewalling features, because some of the vendor better in some of the features. Okay, so example, when you're using a Paloalto firewall, it is m- much better in application visibility, application filters, and much better to provide the maximum throughput than any other fire vendor products. Okay, um, when comes to the FortiGate, and FortiGate, it's similar to Palo Alto, but some of the features they are giving, most of the features they are giving as a free features, and inbuilt SD-WAN features they are providing. And so for that specific feature only they are using uh, that specific product. Okay, so the same way all the vendors having different kind of, and comparatively FortiGate and check, Fortinet and Fortinet is the brand name. Okay, Asad, it's not FortiGate and Fortinet are not different products. Fortinet is the brand name. product name is FortiGate firewall. Fortinet have a multiple products: firewall, web security appliances, mail security appliances, endpoint security appliances, right? So Fortinet brand and one of the product FortiGate firewall. Clear? So don't confuse between the Fortinet and FortiGate. Fortinet is the brand name, FortiGate is the product name, one of the product name. Okay, guys. So hope now you guys are having better idea that what is firewall, what are all the firewall types of firewall we have, what is next generation firewall, what is traditional firewall, what is the difference between the next generation firewall and what is the difference between the traditional firewall, and which use cases we can deploy the traditional firewall, which use cases we have to deploy next generation firewall, right? So everything we will discuss. Any doubts regarding today's session, guys? Today's session or yesterday's session? Any question? Thank you, Azad. Thanks for your feedback. Guys, anyone else? Yeah, I'll share the video link as well. And guys, as I mentioned, coming Monday, we are heading to the Palo Alto firewalls. So, guys,